Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Monica. If you don't know me, I'm mom of 5 kids. I'm raising 4 of them together with my husband. And in this series of videos, which this one is the first, you will find about and you will get to know more about mine and my husband's second born son, David, who didn't survive. I'm gonna share his story, our story, and how this affected us and how this changed us and how this blessed us too in different ways. I'm not gonna jump into that because it's a very long story, as I guess you will agree with me that it is always the case when it's about grief and loss and also other parts of life. I don't want to underestimate any of that, but I want to warn you from the start of this series that I will be talking about grief, I will be talking about loss, and the loss of a child, of a baby. I will share some details about hard moments in my life, and all of this I want to do it because I think everyone has a story that is worth sharing. I don't think that my story is more special than other people's stories, but I think every story has something to give to other people, and if we can give something good from what happened in our life, from our experiences, I think that we should do that. It's our responsibility to help others through the difficult times that we've had, through the different experiences that we had. And one thing that motivated me to do this is that whenever I went through this period of my life, whenever we had our son dying and going through grief, I've searched for so many resources. Thankfully, I live in the UK, so I talk English and I understand English, I would say quite well, maybe perfectly, maybe some things I don't understand, but I think this was a blessing for me because I could hear some other stories. There is much more material in English, and one thing that I started 2 years ago with our story, with the story of our son and our family story, because obviously it's also our story, on a YouTube channel in Romanian, because I wanted to give more to that community, to give more to the Romanian speaking community, because I thought there wasn't much material on grief, on a loss of a child, loss of a baby, and I wanted to help others and to educate others, maybe also through our experience, to know how to deal with people who are going through grief, what to say, what to not to say, and how someone could feel into a situation like that and be more sympathetic with them. So I will start to share in this video about our story. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be at least a few videos with that. So this is gonna be the first one. I don't have a script in mind, so bear that in mind. I will try to say as many things as I remember and as much as I feel I want to share with you. I am at a good point in my grief now. It's been 7 years and a half since our son passed away, so I've been a long way. I've been through a way of healing, and I don't want to say that I don't have moments when I still go through hard times, thinking about that, and I don't want to say that I'm not still grieving my son from time to time, and I don't miss him, because I do miss him every day, but I learned how to cope. So I'm at the point in I'm at a place in my life where I'm able to share this, where I'm able to put things into words, and I realize for myself that for me is very healing. For me, this part of sharing about his story, about our story, is just healing so much. Just saying things out loud, saying what happened to us, what we experienced, for me helps a lot. And first of all, it's for me, and then secondly, it's for whoever watches this. And maybe there are people who are going through the same, maybe there are people who will go through the same, because unfortunately we don't know what the future holds. And maybe there are people who will never go through that, who've never been through this, but this will help you to understand what can happen to people that lose a baby. What do you feel in that? What you should say, what you should not say. Maybe be a bit more sympathetic with what's going through different people in their different difficult times. So I will start by saying some brief things about how I met my husband. I met my husband in 2005. I married him a year and a half later in 2007 in January. It's gonna be almost 17 years since I married him at the moment when I published this video in 2024 January. And after a year that we were married, almost, we decided we wanted to have kids, and we tried a few months, I think about 8 months, and after we had a treatment, fertility treatment with some pills, I got pregnant with our first son. The 3rd month of our treatment, I got pregnant. I was young when I had him, so I was almost 20 when I gave birth to my son, Andy. It was pretty straightforward pregnancy, not many complications, and it was a happy time. Obviously, we were a lot younger, we had more patience, and we enjoyed life with him. After that, we wanted to have kids. We wanted to have more kids, and I fell pregnant a year and a half after I had my son. It took us 1 year of trying to get pregnant, and after 7 weeks, I've lost that pregnancy. It was very hard. I didn't understand what was happening. I went through a hard time in my life of depression. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. Maybe I'll want to talk in another video about this. But the things stand at that time that after that, I didn't fall pregnant anymore. We've tried. At times we didn't want to have any more pregnancies, but then we were still trying. We still wanted to have children, but we never had them. And we were at a point in our life where we thought we will never have any more kids. At least I thought to myself. We were still hoping, but somehow I was starting to give up onto that. I was starting to think, well, I was almost starting to work in ministry and starting different plans in our lives, different things that were just so exciting. We just moved into UK from Italy, so we were building our life here, and I just didn't think that that would happen anymore. So 8 years ago, after 7 years since we had our first son, I fell pregnant. Actually, I fell pregnant before, and then at 5 weeks, I've lost the pregnancy. It was a miscarriage. And then afterwards, I didn't get any period anymore. And it was Christmas, almost Christmas 2015. And I told my husband that something is not right. I didn't get a period and probably I'm pregnant. And I asked him to buy a pregnancy test. I did a pregnancy test and I was pregnant. I was very happy. I didn't think anything was gonna go wrong. I was so excited. I was so relieved. I wasn't sure how far along I was, but I was sure I was still in the first trimester. So then I booked everything. Everything was new for me in the UK. The things to do in pregnancy are just a bit different from Italy, where I had my first son. So I had to adjust to learn how it works. Everything was fine. There was no reason to think anything was wrong. I was enjoying this pregnancy because I was at a stage of my life when I was much more mature. This pregnancy was so awaited for, so longed for. So I enjoyed it. I was looking forward to having another child. We were hoping to have a girl because we always wanted to have girls, and we had our first son, boy. We were definitely happy to have him, but we were hoping we were going to have a girl. And things were great. Everything changed though. One day, everything started to crack under our feet. The 20-week scan, the anomaly scan, I went to the hospital to do the scan because that's how you do it. And I was with my sister, one of my sisters, and my son, because my husband couldn't be there because he was working, he couldn't take a day off. So I had them. We knew obviously that at that scan they will look to see any anomalies, anything that's wrong with the baby and stuff like that. I wasn't really thinking anything would be wrong. I was just excited because I will find out what I was having, and I was hoping they would see. We wanted to see if it was a boy or a girl. And we got there, we got to have the scan. I was excited to have our son experience that with us and just bond better with his sibling. The technician took a while, she looked around, and then she told us it was a boy. I remember my son was a bit upset because he was telling me it was supposed to be a girl, why is a boy? Because we wanted a girl. Nevertheless, he then got happy with it. And then something happened that I didn't realize in that moment. And the technician finished to do the scan, and she said, there's an issue with the kidneys, nothing too much to worry about, but I can't tell you much. But I'm telling you that you're going to see something on the report. There is something about the kidneys, and you're going to see a consultant, a doctor now, that's going to tell you what's going to happen from now on. And I just didn't realize. In that moment, it was like I was still happy because I saw baby moving, and I finally saw there was a boy, and we were planning on a name. And I got out of the office, and I think I texted one of my friends, or I phoned her, I think, and I started to cry at that moment because I realized something was wrong, and my fairy tale was turning into something different, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I wasn't sure how it's going to end. I wasn't sure if I should hope that was nothing or that I should prepare for the worst. I just didn't know. It was a lot of emotion, and obviously in pregnancy you are a lot more emotional. There's a lot more things that go into your head. And I waited. The consultant called me not long after that, and they told me that they will refer me to the special unit of fetal medicine in the hospital, where they will book me for another scan, a more detailed scan. They will look at the kidneys. They didn't tell me anything. They didn't tell me what it could be. They say they will tell you when they see you. And I think you can agree with me that that's the worst thing that they can do. Maybe for some people it's fine, but for me it was excruciating not knowing. I need to know everything. I'm a person that when you tell me something is wrong, I need to tell me all the aspects of that, all that could happen. I just need to know, even if that won't happen. I just need to know what could happen so I can prepare myself, so I can just grieve for that hard time. So I obviously waited. I think I got a phone call or a letter a few days later, or a couple of days later, for a week after. So I was booked a week after I had this scan to have another scan in the fetal medicine department. And I started to Google because I needed to know. I tried to ask a couple of people that are doctors to tell me what could it be, but somehow they didn't want to tell me. Actually, one person I've asked, but she didn't. She said, no, you have to wait until you see the doctor, and she didn't want to tell me anything. And it was frustrating somehow because I just needed so much to know from someone that I trusted. What could it be? They told us that the kidneys had dilation. There was too much fluid in the kidney, and that could mean different things. That could mean that kidneys were blocked. That could mean there was reflux back from the urethra to the kidneys. There could be a few things, and I read online, I looked, and I saw that a lot of the times it's nothing. It gets solved by the time baby is born. Some of the times it gets solved a bit later, or some other times they need to do surgery to fix that. And other things that I saw is that could be linked to having a child with chromosomal abnormality, and more precisely with having a child with Down syndrome. And I cried, definitely. I told my husband that could be. He cried too. We were hoping that wouldn't be our case, but I don't know. It was just a sadness about it because we just felt like something, we were faced with something that we've never been faced before. and we didn't know how to act, and we were just, there was so much information and so much uncertainty until we had that scan. And you might agree with me that when you need to wait and you don't know yet, like loads of thoughts come into your head, and it's just hard to process. It's just hard because, as I told you, we felt like we were living a fairy tale, and all of a sudden things started to not be that happy anymore. We were faced with uncertainty and with the fact that the baby might be unwell and something was wrong, and just didn't know. So we waited until we had that scan the following week. I was 21 weeks. The doctor that did the scan was very nice. It was a lady. She was very nice, very thoughtful. It was a long scan, about an hour. My husband was able to be with me at that scan, and it was emotional. I won't lie. I was very anxious that day, but I was hoping that they will see everything is okay, that they will say, well, things are better, or now they aren't anymore, like the kidneys are fine and there's nothing wrong. We weren't exactly sure what they will say. They did the scan, and then they took us in a separate room to talk with us. There was this doctor and a midwife, and that's how they always do. There's always someone with them, and they explained us that there's this issue with the kidneys. They definitely saw it's not a severe thing, like they see it sometimes, and it's very common in baby boys especially. But it could be the cases that I already saw, and that it can get solved by itself during pregnancy. It can get solved just before, after birth. It can get solved just after baby gets born, or worst case scenario, sometimes they need a small surgery sometime after birth, or in the weeks or in the months after, depending on how severe it is, to fix that. And it's not that bad, but they saw something else when they did the scan, because they checked everything. They checked heart, they checked all the organs and everything, and somehow when we did the 20-week scan, they didn't pick this thing up. Obviously they have more specialized machines to do the scans in this department. So what they saw, they saw this baby had hydrocephaly, which means an accumulation of liquid mass, much more than normal people, because we all have some liquid in our skull, in our brain, but this was much bigger than the average, which can mean also nothing. Sometimes it can get solved by itself, or it gets drained after baby gets born. It's not extremely uncommon. It's not that common, like not all people get it, but some have it, some babies have it, and they can solve it, or it gets solved by itself. And by itself, this thing could mean nothing. But she told us then that because we had two things that were indicators of something not being quite right, that we had a 2% chance that our son had a chromosomal abnormality. We had a 2% chance that our son would be Down syndrome. And, that was our odds. They didn't see any other issues at that time. They offered us to do the amniocentesis or the other tests, the invasive tests, which we didn't want. We declined because I didn't want anyone to go inside the womb, to touch the womb, because there was a risk of miscarriage correlated to that, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to lose my baby. I would have kept the baby anyway. They told us we have the right to do an abortion to terminate the pregnancy, which we told them we wouldn't do, because we don't think we should end another person's life by the words. And I told him, because my son, if my son that it's living outside my womb, if he would get ill one day or he would get anything, I wouldn't kill him, because he has that. So because of that, I wouldn't kill my baby inside my womb, because there might be something wrong with him. I don't think I should be doing that. So we told them we don't want to do that, and we don't want the invasive test, because I don't want a chance of abortion or of miscarriage. So I told them I'm happy to do any other test that they want, but not invasive test, not something that they will poke my belly and go inside and just will be the risk of infection or anything with that. They did me some blood tests to do the other tests that they had to do, different tests. I don't remember what kind of test they did, but anyway, they took some bloods and what they could do at that stage of my pregnancy anyway, because I was 21 weeks pregnant. And then they booked us for another scan in 4 weeks. They told us they're gonna see us every 4 weeks to scan us to see how baby's going, and they will move us from the normal pregnancy department to the fetal medicine, which was a high risk pregnancy department, and I will be under their care until I will give birth and all the plans. So far we didn't know much because they couldn't predict much on that, but the things were like, we will go ahead with the plan of normal birth, but it would have to be a hospital birth, which was fine because that was I was planning anyway. But things changed, and this was only the beginning. I think we thought this was the worst day that we could have, but to be honest, I think that wasn't the worst. The worst was yet to come along the way, unfortunately, and no one could have prepared us for what happened in the weeks and in the months following that. And I'm going to be sharing that with you in the next videos. And as I said, I want to do that because I want our story to be heard, first of all, because it's our story and I think it's important. I think everyone's story is important and has value, and it's worth listening to people's stories. I like listening to people's stories. I think they bring so much more value to our lives, so much more meaning to understanding other people's lives, and I think we can learn so much, not because I am so much of an important person, you know, but because I think we can learn from everyone. And sometimes I like to stop and listen to other people's stories because I think we always can learn something, and we can widen and broaden our knowledge and our compassion for others. But I will be sharing also for the people who are going through this. And if you're going now through grief, the grief of losing a baby or a son at any stage of pregnancy or at any stage in their life, I just want to say that I'm so sorry for you, that I feel for you, and I hope that you're going to find hope. You're going to be restored through some of our stories. As you see, I'm talking in this video years later, and I am able to talk clearly. I wasn't definitely able to talk just soon after that about this, and if I was able to talk any part of it, it would have been through a lot of tears and a lot of sadness. And obviously saying this story does bring me some of those emotions, because it's normal, it's my life, it's what I've lived, and it's my son. Even if he doesn't live anymore, I have the hope that he is in heaven, and I will see him one day together with my husband and my other children. But I hope that you're gonna see that I found ways through this stage in our lives to learn how to cope. I came through this, and I went through this, and I came victorious, and I'm still walking into grief. I'm not gonna lie, there are days when it's hard, but I got a lot more healing, and I hope that you're gonna find encouragement, that you're gonna know that God is good, and God is good with all of us, and He can bring you so much more than you can imagine. He can bring you healing, and I hope that you're gonna learn to trust Him, and you're gonna learn how to receive healing in your heart, and just learn to find ways to not to move forward, but to move with this, and to find ways to relieve a tiny bit of this grief from your shoulders. I'm gonna leave you now, and I'm gonna see you in the next video with the story of our son. Probably you're gonna see something else in the meantime, but I will be continuing to share on this channel about his story. And if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing to our channel. You're gonna see different kind of contents here, but definitely you are gonna find David's story, and I hope that you're going to continue to follow us. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram on Nikitas in the UK. You can also find us on TikTok. We share a bit of everything in every of this channel, and I would love to get to know you in the comments down below, and see you in the next video. Bye!